The Plishtim got what they deserved for stealing the Aron. Even though it was a punishment for Am Yisrael, the one who volunteers to supply the punishment to Am Yisrael will get theirs as well. It's taken to Ashdod, and they get plagued, so they obnoxiously send it on to Gat to make sure the plague is really because of the Aron, and they get plagued, but just to really make sure, they send it on to Ekron. It's like if you're not sure if you have corona or not, so you cough on someone, and if they catch it, apparently you did have it. What a delightful culture. Either way, Ekron really does not want to be a part of this experiment and simply wants to send it back. But they do want to know if it really was from Hashem. So they devise a test, have all the odds stacked against it, and see if, despite it all, it makes its way to Beit Shemesh. Why Dafka Beit Shemesh? On a pshat level, Ekron is right down the Sorek riverbed from Beit Shemesh. In fact, while the location of Tel Beit Shemesh was known to us, Ekron's name had not been preserved. A kibbutznik from Kibbutz Rivadim noticed that the area nearby, a tel known as Tel Mikna, had no one who knew its history or even its original name. He set out one day riding a donkey, directly straight up the riverbed, and finding himself on top of this very hill. Pulling out a Tanakh from his bag, opening it to this perek, he realizes that Tel Mikna, which he had set out from, is none other than the missing Ekron. Convincing enough archaeologists to begin a dig on site, they end up finding a royal inscription to Achish ben Padi, the official of Ekron. Being as the inscription was in Hebrew, it's likely from later in the Melucha period, but nonetheless attests to the identification of the site. So we find ourselves back in Beit Shemesh of the Tanakh. You may remember that we were last year as we discussed Soranish, the Ol of Shimshon across the way. We discussed the Sorek riverbed between us and Shimshon's hometown, and the Plishtim living downstream to the west. So the cows seem to pass the test and bring the Aron straight to Beit Shemesh. But apparently the people of Beit Shemesh weren't exactly worthy either. What happened? Apparently, much like the Plishtim, they didn't know how to care for and respect the Aron properly. But why not? Weren't these Jewish people as well? Shouldn't they have known that looking inside the Aron would likely not end well? The strange thing is, when archaeologists dug in Beit Shemesh, they found a Plishti town. So was this just another Plishti town that it was sent to, and that's why they were plagued as well? It doesn't explicitly say that Beit Shemesh is an Israelite town, but from the context, it sure sounds like it. But what can you say? The pottery from them, Plishti. The houses from them, Plishti. There's just one thing missing: pig bones. Plishtim loved eating pig. They imported them and introduced them apparently into the land of Israel. There's no such thing as remains of a Plishti town without a high percentage of pig bones, and here, none. This brings us back to our exploration of the Parakim of Shimshon in this same area. Beit Shemesh is in the Shvela. In times of war, they're living on the frontier. But in the quieter times, the borders can begin to blur. Trade, intermarriage, cultural diffusion, and assimilation. This was an Israelite town. There is no way it was Plishti, not according to the Pshat in the Navi, nor the Pshat of the archaeology without the pig bones. But the people living here were so assimilated, they were basically living like Plishtim. But even they had their red lines. They wouldn't eat pig. But culturally, they were becoming just like the Plishtim. The Aron arrives here, and they're just as clueless as to how to treat it properly as the Plishtim were. And so they get plagued as well. Whereas the Plishtim at least tried to send the Aron back with respect as they knew how, by sending golden hemorrhoids. I'm not sure exactly what that even means, but I'm pretty sure it would not be on my gift registry. But Am Yisrael should really know better. Once they realize that this is really beyond them and needs to be sent to those who know how to treat it properly, or at least hopefully would know, they send it eastwards up to the mountains to Kiryat Yarim.